My name is Cassie, and I'm part of the programming team here at the Wichita Public Library. Today I'm going to be talking about Category 8 of the ReadICT program, Books About the Sea or on a Beach. My first choice is Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. There's a sense of foreboding here. Last night I dreamt I went to Manderley again. It seemed to me as I stood by the iron gates leading to the drive, I could not pass, for the way was barred to me. I could not resist that. I have loved this book for years, and the lines are quite famous. But we can enter this haunting story narrated by an unnamed heroine, which is, it's very interesting why she is unnamed. When she meets the dashing Maxim de Winter, who owns an estate by the sea called Manderley. His first wife, Rebecca, has died in a boat accident, or has she? Upon going to Cornwall, our unnamed heroine meets a villain you will never, ever forget, Mrs. Danvers, who is absolutely obsessed with Rebecca, everything about Rebecca. Rebecca's room is absolutely untouched. In fact, du Maurier herself has said this is a study in jealousy. 80 years later, Rebecca still weaves its spell. The writing is just gorgeous. It's absolutely beautiful. I love this so much it's almost hard for me to talk about it, if you can understand that. I forgot to mention this book, and it's very important with Rebecca. This is called Enchanted Cornwall, and it's all about all du Maurier's or anyone who writes on Cornwall's writings. Indeed, Manderley is such an icon in Gothic writing. We see the true Manderley here. And let me just read what du Maurier says about writing. Slowly in a dream, I walk towards the house. It's wrong, I think, to love a block of stone like this, as one loves a person. It cannot last, it cannot endure. Perhaps it's this very insecurity of the love that makes the passion strong. Because she is not mine by right, the house is still entailed and one day will belong to another. In fact, Rebecca's boat, named Je Reviens, the one she supposedly drowns in, means I shall return. And I hope you will return to read this or reread this. And if you like this book, there are several others. Mistress of Melon by Victoria Holt, or Ruth Ware's The Late Mrs. Westerly. My second book is The Sea House by Elizabeth Gifford. This is an intriguing dual narrative, and you'll ask yourself the question, could local myths and legends be true? It takes place on the remote island of the Hebrides called Harris, where a young couple from London has bought a house, a rather derelict house, and they hope to change it, renovate it, and turn it into a B&B. However, while renovating, to their horror, they find something in the basement. Let me read this to you. They find a tin case, and in the case are the bones of a baby. This was no family pet or small animal. No, this was the skull of a human baby, but everything so tiny that it must have been born either very underweight or premature. My eyes traced along the arm bone and then down the bones of one leg. Something was wrong. Where was the other leg? I shuffled closer and noted the strange thickness of a single leg bone, the long central indentation along its length, and then I realized it wasn't so much that any of the bones were missing, but the legs had fused together for one bone with appendages back and forth. My heart missed a beat. I could hardly believe what I was looking at. Well, let's turn back to 1860, when a young minister, Alexander Ferguson, who's also an evolutionary biologist, decides to go to the island of Harris and becomes the pastor there. There's a twofold reason why he wants to go. First, he's always believed or wants to believe in the legends of the Selkies and mermaids. And secondly, he'd like to prove a theory of his that all these sightings off the coast of Scotland actually were a race from Scandinavia who in kayaks coming over to the coast of Scotland were thought to be mermaids. And I must tell you, Alexander has a very, very strong interest in answering this question. My third book is The Light Between Oceans by M.L. Stedman. The clues to this mesmerizing tale really are in words. The story takes place on a lighthouse off the coast of Australia called Janus. Now, Janus was the Roman god who had two faces. You could look backwards or you could look forwards to make your fateful choice. Into the scene comes our hero, Tom Shelburne, who is a decorated war veteran of World War II, but he's shell-shocked. So he deliberately takes the job as a lighthouse keeper off the coast. A couple months later, he goes to the mainland, and to his surprise, he meets the love of his life, Isabel. They decide to get married and go back to Janus Island. Well, after many miscarriages, there's a sadness in both of them. However, one night, late at night, they hear the cry of a baby. They go down to the ocean, and there, drifting back to them, is a boat with a dead man holding a baby. Isabel begs to keep the baby, and Tom, to his chagrin and grave misgivings, decides to let her keep the baby as her own. The inevitable happens when Tom returns to the mainland. He meets the true mother, and therein lies the moral choice. With minimalistic writing, the author almost begs the question of us to answer, what would I have done? I hope you will enjoy these books of the sea and dive in and read them. For more reading recommendations, visit wichitalibrary.org/readict.